Well, we've already seen it. We've seen people unable to go away, in their hundreds, perhaps thousands over the last couple of weeks, where passports have just simply not come back in time for trips that were perhaps very long planned, perhaps trips that actually people had already, delayed several times because of the pandemic. So we've already seen this as a big issue. In terms of some readers themselves, I've had families unable to go on long promised trips. Unfortunately, someone who's actually lost their passport and then had to try to get a new one, we're never going to get it in time, and that's going to put their wedding in Barbados at risk. So It really is a huge issue at the moment.
Yeah, and if people haven't renewed their passport and are hoping to get away this summer, what would your advice be? Would it, I assume, get it in now?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a holiday booked, yes, get it in as soon as possible. We're talking about 10 weeks minimum, they're saying at the moment, for passports. So if you're looking at going away in those first couple of weeks of the school summer holidays, that's now. It is 10 weeks from now to the start of the summer holidays. So definitely get them in as soon as possible. What people are really struggling with is that when they do need a passport in a really urgent situation, right now they can't even get an appointment for one of these sort of on-the-day passports or even the week-long service. They cost more, in fact, almost double the price of a normal passport renewal, but people can't even get appointments for that at the moment. So there really does seem to be a huge labour shortage at the moment.
And is this post-pandemic? What's responsible for these massive backlogs?
I mean, it very definitely is post-pandemic. What's baffling is why they knew this was going to happen. They knew that 4.5 million people had yet to renew their passports after 2 years where people weren't travelling. So they could have anticipated that once they dropped all these travel restrictions, which they did, that people were then instantly going to want to go away, send their passports off. And this is the situation we've come to. Now, I mean, I can understand that during the lockdowns, it would have been very difficult for the passport office to operate from home. We're talking about people's sensitive information here. You can't just run that off a home computer. I do understand this has to be done under, really secure servers. But there should have been an anticipation of the fact that once those travel restrictions were lifted, there would be a huge rush.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa, where do you stand then on the Prime Minister saying, come on, folks, if you don't get your act together, threatening them basically with privatisation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to help in the short term. I mean, really, generally, before the pandemic, there wasn't really an issue with passports. There was always going to be perhaps a perfect storm because once we've had the Brexit, that has actually had an impact on some people's passports, where at the moment your expiry is 10 years from the date of the start of that passport. Many of our passports perhaps had a July start date and a September end date because they'd added on the months from your previous passport. From now on, that doesn't count. It is from the date of the sort of passport issued that your passport is then 10 years, it has to be. Then on top of that, you have to have 3 months to go into Europe, not 6 months. Some airlines have been incorrectly telling people it was 6 months. It is 3 months. And then that's going to be having more of an impact on people having to renew their passports. So you could see this was going to be the perfect storm. But
well, exactly.
I think my only advice would be if you have got your holiday booked, then obviously you've got no choice. You've got to get it, and your passport needs renewing. You've got to get it done as soon as possible. If you haven't yet booked a holiday, renew your passport, get that sorted, then start thinking about actually booking the trip, because you could lose the trip if you can't get away.